Well, I'm flying solo here, and without Adam, I just act like I've never done this before. I just laid down 11 minutes on Alek Manoah, and I didn't even say hello or the name of the podcast. So, quick little intro here before we get to that video. Hello, I'm Scott Belford, normally joined by Adam Mack, the best co host in the biz, but he is busy, so I'm flying solo here for this video. Please hit like, please subscribe if you have not already. Also, quick heads up here for everyone in the grounds crew. If you are a Calgary viewer, then I have a request here. Okay, because Adam and I were doing a live podcast June 22nd, BottleScrew Bills in Calgary. Come out. Come join us. We're trying to unite all of the Cowtown Jays fans under one roof here. It'll be a live podcast. There'll be giveaways. There'll be comedy. It'll just be an all-around good time. Plus, there's no Jays game that night, so it's a good way to fill our baseball needs. All right, link for that is in the comment section here. It'll be the first comment, the pinned comment. If you're looking to join us, feel free to do so. Cheers, everybody. Enjoy the video. Well, my goodness, the storyline that has been the 2023 Alek Manoah season continues to be turbulent, and it may have hit a climax here. It's funny, this organization has been trying to avoid sending him down, but then after his start on Monday against the Houston Astros, I think the writing was on the wall that there were no other options. So this is what happened this afternoon. You might be watching this video Wednesday morning. Either way, as of Tuesday afternoon, the roster moves. The Toronto Blue Jays have announced our right-handed pitcher, Chris Bassett, of course, coming off the paternity list. Santiago Espinal joining the team, coming off the 10-day IL, Bowden Francis. You might remember he was the prospect that was attached to Trevor Richards in the trade that sent Rowdy Tellez to the Milwaukee Brewers. So that trade coming to fruition here as Bowden Francis getting a shot in the big leagues. Right-handed pitcher Jay Jackson and Erda Clement, who made his major league debut with the Blue Jays just recently, both optioned down to AAA. Alek Manoah, and this is the big one, optioned to the Florida Complex League all the way down. He goes all the way down. Right-handed pitcher Zach Thompson in a corresponding move to make room on the 40-man roster for Bowden Francis, who wasn't on the 40-man. Zach Thompson was designated for assignment. Zach Thompson, of course, was acquired from Pittsburgh in the offseason. The Blue Jays shipping a mid-ranking prospect, but friend of the show out of the Bahamas, Chavez Young. We interviewed him a couple times. Really interesting story. He came across to the U.S. at 14 years old. Anyways, we're rooting for Chavez, but that trade did not work out for the Blue Jays, and pitching depth is thin. So we are going to get into who, which is a very good question. Who is going to pitch these innings that Alek Manoah is leaving a giant hole for? But let's start with how long this is going to take. Because everyone's different. Every single player is different. The way the brain works, the way the body works. So it's really tough to actually give a timeline here. But I think every Blue Jay fan needs to be aware. Him being sent down to the Florida Complex League, he's going to need some rest, first of all, before he even starts doing anything, mental or physical. And then it's going to be a complete rebuild. This man is going to be reset. They are going to take their time with Alek Manoah. This is not going to happen overnight. If you're expecting Alek Manoah to be back with this big club before the calendar turns to July, you are in for disappointment, because I wouldn't even be surprised if it's September, if at all, this season. So this is for, and friend of the show, Hey Kami, Joel dug this up. And this, again, I want to be very clear that every pitcher's different, so this is not a comparable, but just for perspective, when the Blue Jays sent Roy Halladay down, and they did the exact same thing with Halladay as they did with Manoah here. They sent him down. This isn't a AAA kind of thing. This was a long-term idea for Roy Halladay as well. So it took Roy Halladay 20 games. That's 70 innings across high A, double A, triple A. Alek Manoah is a different guy. Who knows where he's going to be at, but it was 7 starts and then a bunch of bullpen appearances for Halladay, and he managed to take his walks from almost 6 per 9 down to 1.1. And I think that's Alek Manoah's biggest struggle right now, or at least it looks like it could be, How many innings he pitched last year keeps running through my mind. 201. Compare that to 111 in 2021, and the general rule of thumb that you only want to increase innings by 15%. Alek Manoah's inning increase was 82%. So let's say he was overworked last year, struggling with the pitch clock and getting in a rhythm there. Add to the fact that he has struggled so mightily, and we've seen his confidence at an all-time low. He even said it himself. He's thinking, don't throw a ball, not throw a strike. Add to that maybe some conditioning. Add to that the mental factor of being claimed or pronounced the ace of this staff. I think a step back from baseball for Alek Manoah at this time is a really good thing for him. I honestly do. And I think that a slow rebuild, get the man's confidence back up, and maybe he can be a huge contributor in September. That would be an incredible story. And baseball is full of fun little stories like that. So fingers crossed. It really is about getting Alek right. Now, the question is who's going to replace him. Because if he is going to be out until September, I mean, we're 6 to 7 weeks away from Hyun-Jin Ryu being ready. Maybe a little earlier. Even if Ryu's ready in 5 weeks, which I think is really pushing the envelope here, and he's ready to make the last start before the All-Star game, you're still talking a major chunk of the season here that needs to be covered. And you need to wonder if maybe there's a trade looming. Now, remember, it is June, so any trade that would happen would need to be with a team that is god-awful, right? Maybe the Colorado Rockies. Maybe you could go knocking on the Rockies' door. One name that stood out to me was Kyle Freeland. Now, listen, Freeland might be... It'll cost some prospect capital, that is for sure. And Kyle Freeland isn't the be-all, end-all. He just signed a $68 million deal with the Colorado Rockies last year. He's making $10.5 million this season, and then that jumps up to $16 million for the next 4 years. And where the Rockies are in their rebuild, they may find it attractive to move him off of their books. It would be a middle-of-the-rotation guy with control. Kyle Freeland, a career 4.25 ERA. He's pitching with a 4.06. Maybe it's better outside of Colorado. It's tough being a pitcher in Coors Field, that's for sure. Maybe you can get a bullpen piece with this. Again, I don't know what the Blue Jays are going to do. Is Bowden Francis going to take the majority of these starts? I think they're going to start with that and see what happens. You're going to wind up, they just DFA'd Zach Thompson. Drew Hutchison isn't an option anymore. So their only depth right now is Casey Lawrence, I think. I don't know. I don't know if the Blue Jays have a choice here. They may need to go out and acquire a starting pitcher because there isn't a lot of options. If Bowden Francis doesn't work, guys, are we going to roll the dice on being able to limp through until Alek Manoah finds it, and maybe he doesn't? Is this team going to be a playoff team come the trade deadline if they don't do something early? These are real questions that Ross Atkins is going to need to answer. And I really do believe that this is a pivotal moment in Ross Atkins' career right here. How they deal with Alek Manoah, how they build him back up, what he does to replace those innings. This is going to be do or die for the guy. I really do think that at the end of the season, if he doesn't make the right moves, it is bye-bye, Mr. Atkins. So how does he fill these innings? Time will tell. It's an interesting little quagmire that the Blue Jays are in right now. They were the only team, by the way, that had only used 5 starters. So that streak is over, and it took them 2 months, which is incredible. And it's interesting how depth works, right? Because you think you have depth till you don't. I remember at the offset of the season, I even said I felt like their starting pitching depth was better than 2022. And then, of course, underperformance from Zach Thompson and Casey Lawrence. Looks like the Casey Lawrence we always knew in AAA. And then you don't get those step forwards from Ricky Tiedemann. He has some injury problems. Sam Roberts doesn't progress like you maybe thought he would. And here we are holding our hat being like, hey, we need a starting pitcher. So we're going to see what happens. Ross Atkins, make it happen, buddy. Don't want to be seeing Casey Lawrence and us crossing our fingers on bullpen days. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that like button. Take care. Cheers.